Welcome to the Asian Supermarket. I'm your host Christina from America.
And I'm Carmen from Australia.
This week we have a special episode with our friend Yonsoo. As a Korean who's had extensive work experience in Germany, we hear her perspectives on Korean and German culture while discussing the differences in body image and beauty standards in the East and West.
So grab your favorite fusion dish and let's chill together as we have a chat with a guest who may bring some new healthy insights in episode 6.
Welcome to episode 6 of Asian Supermarket. So today we have our guest with us. Her name is Yonsoo and she was born in Korea. She lived in Atlanta for a while. Then she went to study abroad in Germany and now she's back in Korea. So why don't you tell us how we know each other?
I met Yonsoo in our PR ambassadors group back at Korea University, and we instantly clicked, became really good friends there. And then I don't know if you remember, we went on a lot of adventures. What was that one city we went to? Jeonju?
Jeonju, do you mean?
Yeah. And
Yeah, we stayed at Hanok.
yeah, so it was really cool. We got to like vlog and then take photos, eat,
Yep.
and then basically document our life around there. So start off with a little icebreaker. So if you were to use two cuisines, let's say German and Korean, since you have those influences, and make some unique dish, what would it be?
I don't know how unique it would be, but then German dish is actually, you don't really have that much thing in a German dish. When I was living in Germany, basically all the food were based on salt, potatoes, and meat. So those three ingredients, and you got the German dish. With those ingredients, and then if you mix like a Korean food to it, kimchi would do the trick.
Speaking of kimchi, our fun fact there are over hundreds of different kimchi types.
Yeah.
And for those that don't know, kimchi is a salted fermented vegetable. And yeah, is there a favorite type of kimchi you guys like?
Personally, like I don't know what it's called. Is it the radish kimchi, the cube one?
The radish, the white one.
I like that one. What's it called?
You mean gakdugi?
Gakdugi, yeah, that one.
One of the main types.
What about you, Christina? What's your favorite?
I thought about it. I don't like just kimchi. I like the radish thing. I remember there's chicken shops, and then I would go to chicken shop just to buy the radish box. But I remember they had the thing, so the side dish, the white one. So I would just eat boxes of that because I'm addicted to it.
Oh god.
And then
I don't think that's kimchi though, because kimchi is like the fermented one in the red color sauce, right? That one is just that's something else.
The white one?
I know.
I don't know, pickle.
Yeah.
Pickled type.
Radish, yeah.
Bro, we're talking about kimchi. We're talking about favorite types of kimchi.
And then it moves on to chicken moo. Okay. I don't eat kimchi that often, actually. But because no, when I'm eating Korean dish, but then these days I don't eat that much Korean dish, and then just eating more like salads and such. And kimchi obviously doesn't go with salad. So yeah, but then usually when I eat kimchi, I like the original one, the main one, you know, the one with the Korean lettuce and then cabbage. Yeah, and then also I like the ones that have the kimchi salad with the cucumbers. Have you tried it?
Why don't you tell us more about yourself?
I was born in Korea, and I left for the US when I was around 8 years old. To Atlanta, Georgia. I followed my family. My dad was studying there, and then so my whole family went there and then stayed there for about 3 years. I graduated elementary school and then came back to Korea. And then you know how Korea's education system is really competitive, and everyone was actually really, really tough that time because everyone was really competitive in studying, and then I wasn't ready for it, and I had a little bit of a hard time when I first came back. I actually had a really difficult time when I first went to the America as well, because the culture was completely different, and then I couldn't really speak English that time. So that time once I had a hard time, and then when I came back to Korea, I had another hard time. But yeah, tough life. But I adjusted soon enough, and then I went to foreign language high school, and that's where I started with German. I was in the German department, and I learned the language. But at the university, I didn't major in German. I majored in economics. But then, since I was learning the language, I had some interest to actually go to the country where the language is from and you know feel how the language is used and what the culture is like. I do you know Bonn in Germany? It used to be the old capital of West Germany when it was divided. Yeah, it's a small city. But then I actually decided on that city because the university building was pretty, and that was mainly the reason why I picked that place. And it has a beautiful yellow building. I came back to Korea, and then from then on, just staying in Korea and just traveling sometimes.
Oh, no, that's so
Story of
interesting.
my life.
So you were in Germany for one semester, and then during that time, I guess you got to like improve your German a lot, did you?
A mix up of German, English, and also I had some Korean friends. So actually, that time, all of our language levels were going down altogether. That's what happens when you're learning too many languages or using too many languages at once.
So like when you were living abroad for a while in America, what other like cultural differences did you pick up besides like outside of school?
Being kind of like a minor in the society, should I say? Because like in Korea, you only have Koreans, right?
Yeah.
So all same looking people and with the same language. And so that time before I went, I thought I don't know, from my childhood memory, I was really one of the cool kids in the school, I think. In Korea, yes. And then when I went over to the US and I couldn't speak English, and I was also shy, very shy at that time. And I think that's what made it harder because I think Americans tend to be very confident. They're usually not very shy. Of course, it depends on the people. But then I think when I first went there, since I couldn't speak English and I was also Korean, and then we didn't have that much Koreans in the school. I only had one other Korean. I think, I mean, other friends, they were nice, but then I didn't know how to approach them. So I think that was the difficult part. And then the education system is completely different. So mostly in Korea, it's very one-sided. The teacher talks, and then the students don't really talk that much, and they don't raise that many questions either. And then, but then in an American school, students are so active. So you have like discussion sessions, and then you have like presentations going on, and so I think that was a big difference. And I wasn't very used to that kind of format.
We're talking about education, because what I noticed is, like, for example, in America, we have, college all straight 3 to 4 years, right? But I noticed in Korea, a lot of people take breaks in the middle, right? To work or intern. Is that popular or just like for certain people?
No, it's very popular actually. For men, it's not that popular because they have to serve in the military for 2 years, which they think it's a loss of time. Because and then they have to, get back to studying and then just finish off university because they're already kind of behind in time. But then I think for female students, it's usually the course that they take like at least one semester off these days. Also because due to the fact that it's a tough job market these days, and then so even though you finished all of your credits, people still linger on until they get a certain job. Or like in between, for my case, I took some semesters off for my internship. So like internships that would last for like 6 months or 3 months, it is kind of necessary to take semesters off for those jobs. So although it's 4 years, people graduate after 5 years.
For the males who have to like do the military, obviously, do they start university first and then go to military?
So you don't see the male students suddenly during your sophomore year because they usually go in their sophomore year and then come back when you're already a graduate. like in the graduating class.
see.
So yeah, it's kind of like a sad story, but
I'm from Singapore and it's mandatory as well for like males to do military service. But in Singapore, usually you do it after you finish high school before you go to uni. So then like the males will like go into the military after high school, and then after that like they have that time to like do their military service, and then they'll decide like what they want to do in uni. So after they finish their military, then they'll go to uni. So it's kind of interesting that like in Korea they start uni first.
Can you tell us a little bit more about your work? Because it's very interesting.
I'm currently working at the German embassy in Korea as the economic affairs officer, although it sounds very extravagant. The title. Before I was in a local bank, which I really didn't like because it was really stressful and not very in an international environment, right? I had more interest in working for international relations, and so my work is usually researching on Korean economy. These days, our focus is mostly on energy partnerships.
Do you get to use German a lot, like in your work?
Actually, mostly German. I was actually surprised because most of the other embassies in Korea, they would use English.
Did you like take classes, or was it mostly like you just like self-learning for German?
Oh no, they supported me on the German courses.
You find that there's a big difference in like the work culture, even though you're still in Korea, but is there still like a big difference in, like you said, the amount of stress was too much for you at the bank? Do you find that it's like different with the embassy?
Completely different. In the local bank, banks, as usual, like financial institutions are very conservative. And in Korea, it's very conservative. One of the most traditional cultures within the work, and then it was very hierarchical. So you would have, since I was a newbie, and although they were nice, there's still certain culture where you have to kind of respect for
superiors.
The superiors, right? But then like in German embassy, everything's very equal. So although you have your senior, they're like almost like friends, but then you would call them by first name. And then the working style as well, it's a little bit different. Conversations going on in German embassy,
and it's more suited to you now than the Korean culture, right? You prefer this. And is it mostly German people in the embassy?
It's half and half. Actually, less German people. So German people would be sent from their headquarters in Germany, from the foreign office. And so we have around 20 people from Germany and around 30 people who are Korean, so the local staffs.
Like for cultural differences, we talked about education. Is there any other cultural differences you felt? Like you said in certain countries is more there's like a hierarchy, right? And some it's like we're all the same. So is there anything else you noticed?
City-wise, I would say Korea is definitely dense in population. After like living in Germany for like 6 months and coming back home, I was really surprised when I rode the subway because there were so many people. And then usually when you ride a train or a subway in Germany, it's really less populated. Germany always like closes stores around like really early. So at nighttime there's nothing going on.
Oh no.
Except for like clubs and bars, I guess. But then those clubs and bars are also closed early, I think.
Oh, okay. Well, I can't go there then.
So it could be a boring country for young people. So people say you have to go to Germany when you're older.
Do you find that you picked up any German like traits or anything like working at the embassy or before, maybe when you're in America? Do you find that you like anything about like your personality or your culture like had affected you, I guess?
Oh no, I don't think there was a big change, but it's just that since I saw a lot of things and experienced various types of people, I think I just became more open-minded. But then in the core sense, I don't think I changed. I'm just a Korean girl, so I think maybe if I live abroad for like a really long time, more than like 10 years or so, maybe I would change, because usually those people who live in Germany, when I see those like Koreans who lived in Germany for more than like 10 years, they seem kind of German.
That's so
In a
interesting.
good way, in a good way.
What do you
Yeah,
mean? We're
Their
German?
makeups or like their looks all
Yeah.
look different a
Oh,
little bit.
really?
Also for people who are living in the US for a long time, like Koreans as
Mm.
well. Makeups in the Western society, they have more darker, should I say?
Oh,
They're
yeah.
stronger, kind of.
Yeah.
So, like the eyebrow shape or like the eye makeup is quite different. So in Korea, people tend to do natural makeup. Also, Koreans live abroad for a long time. They tend to have this like really Western style makeup on, which has a lot of focus on eyebrows, eye makeup, and then also the lips. So we tend to like kind of have the lips like fade away or something, as if we barely have it on, like
Yeah.
on the lines, should I
Yeah,
say?
yeah.
Yeah, like fashion, I realized like after I went to Korea, I wanted to become more fashionable.
After you went to Korea, you also wanted to wear more makeup, right?
Like
Ah.
changed. But I think in a good way, you know, because
Uh-huh.
it's more presentable, right? Like I
Yeah.
feel like it's interesting because you say like makeup wise, Korea's more natural, but I feel like in America we don't care about, or maybe at least like the people I know, we don't care, you know, about appearance as much.
Right.
Yeah, but in Korea, I remember it was snowing and rainy. I would see girls in like, you know, the skirts and like the high shoes. And then in summer, when
Oh.
it was really hot, they wore pants. Oh yeah, that's something I was wondering. Have you ever noticed that?
I do that personally.
My theory is because it's sunny, so that's why they're wearing long pants to, you know, block out the sun, and the cold weather, they're wearing, you know, the skirts to, you know, be able to wear it, right? Like, is that the case?
Oh, I think that's like the long pants. They've become a fashion recently, and that's why people are just wearing like long pants even in summertime. And yeah, it's just one of the fashion codes, but it's not for like blocking out the sun. We don't think of like utility wise.
Notice that when you see a lot of other people wearing it, the shops tend to all sell similar, like whoever's in shops as well. So you kind of have no choice, right? When you go to the shop and you're just like, oh, everyone's wearing this, and then you're just like, oh, maybe I should wear it too because every shop is selling.
Yeah, it could be that like then Koreans look all the same.
It's so interesting that you brought it up though, because it's like how Yonsoo said like, oh, you know, like Koreans have more natural makeup, but then Christine was like, well, actually, it seems like in the States, like people don't really care. I guess like maybe it's more of like the freedom of expression in the States. I guess like there's a lot of people that go around like without makeup, or there's people that go around with like full face, and like people just don't really care. It's like I feel like it's like more about whatever you feel comfortable in, you know.
I guess that's true because like in universities, like I guess in the US, people don't really like dress up to go to school. But then in Korea, it's completely different. I don't know why, but everyone's dressing up to go to the university.
I remember before I was in like hoodies and jeans.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my gosh, everyone's so fashionable. So I need to change my fit a little bit. So then I started, you know, caring about, you know, dressing more presentable.
Maybe it's because like people were kind of oppressed in their high school times because we were all wearing uniforms and such.
Oh,
and that's why maybe when they go to the university and it's their chance to show to the world.
And I guess it's the opposite for America, because like you spend all your like primary school, middle school life like worrying about what to wear. Then when you get to high school, it's just like when you get to like university, it's just like I don't care anymore. Like
from the workplaces, the superiors, they don't really consider foreign universities as an advantage. They prefer like Sky, we call it Sky. So Seoul National, Yonsoo, Korea University, they're like the top schools in Korea. So they have a better network with like the Sky graduates.
Well, speaking of which, I realized you say superiors a lot. Like for us, we usually say like boss, manager. You say
boss. Right? No, I just couldn't remember the word. That's why. That's a
I say superior as well, because well, I feel like when you say boss, it means like the person who's directly in charge of you. You know what I mean? But when you say superior, it just means like all the people who are like above you, I guess, in hierarchy. I
Right.
feel like the meaning is a bit different.
Superior leader, because I recently watched a K drama called Crash Landing Onto You. Have you heard of it?
Oh God, that's a really good one.
It's interesting, like because I always hear about South Korean culture, but not North Korean. So I'm just wondering,
Yeah.
like, since you live in South Korea, do you guys get exposed to much of the North Korean life, or is it kind of taboo? Like they don't tell you anything, you're not allowed to talk about it and everything.
It's not a taboo, but then we just don't know a lot about it. So we don't get information. We don't have people who are around us that are from North Korea. Sometimes there are people who fled to South Korea, but then they're not. Unless you go into a certain community, you don't really get to see them.
Yeah.
So I think for us, especially the young generation,
Hmm.
North Korea is just seems like another country which we don't really have contact with.
Yeah.
So that could be also another problem because I guess the the older generation, they have this thought on like reunified Korea
Yeah.
because they used to have family members or so
Hmm.
back in North Korea as well. But then I guess for younger generations, since we don't have a lot of contact or information, we feel less the need for like reunification, and then we just have more worries about our own life.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
I mean, North Korea, talking about North Korea is not a taboo, but then we don't really have anything to talk about it. That's the thing. Yeah, but then Crash Landing on You was really fun because I think it just depicts a little bit of how North Korea is, although it's just fantasy.
Yeah.
I think the way of speaking is
Yeah.
also different, and the words
Because it's more formal, right?
for certain words,
Yeah.
like North Koreans, they don't tend to use take the words from like English. So in Korea, for example, we would say ice cream,
Yeah.
but then in North Korea, they would say 얼음 봉숭이 or something. Yeah, they have a completely different word made from their own North Korea words for those words that come from elsewhere.
Yeah.
They try to make it all Korean.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, it's a
Like,
little
can
bit
you
different.
understand it though? Like, it's still derived from Korean language, right?
Yeah,
But it's
most of the parts we would understand it. So it's not a completely different language, but they just have different
yeah.
usage of words.
A little bit about like beauty standards and health, because
Beauty standards, yeah.
yeah, we kind
Sure.
of mentioned it earlier, but also like health. I've seen on your Instagram, like you've been really
Yeah.
health and fitness.
So I think it was after the pandemic. There used to be some like working out sessions like that before the pandemic as well, but it wasn't as popular, I don't think. But after the pandemic, as people stayed more in houses and they were getting kind of, I guess, chubbier than before, and and also with no social activities going on, I think people suddenly became more interested in their health and like working out to get in shape. Beforehand, that wouldn't have been possible because of all the social activities. Koreans
Yeah.
love to drink and have social gatherings, and that's one of the factors that would really deteriorate your process in like working out. So I think with all the social distancing and such, and then on Instagram, you start to see like people started to see like more people working out and getting these body profiles. So we call it body profile in Korea. So basically, you work out hard for about, I think, at least 2 months. So also with like nutrition plans, like you only eat chicken breasts and vegetables, those things that are considered healthy and full of proteins. And it's a rigorous process. But then after around 2 months or more, you have a nice body shape. So you leave that record on as a body profile. So there, like a lot of body profile studios have been springing up in Korea, and you see a lot of like Instagram. I enrolled in this exercise program that was given by this company.
Mhm.
And then they gave it out since it was their first trial of such body profile classes. They gave a discount of like 50%, and they provided. They said that they would provide the like free body profile pictures if you reach a certain goal.
Yeah.
And like body profile pictures are very expensive actually. They cost around uh like depending on the concepts, so you could have like just one concept or like two or three, and then it would start basically from like $300 or so. A lot to invest, and I think I just took that opportunity since they're giving a discount on the classes, and also if you reach a certain goal, they provide you a free picture. So that's why I enrolled in the class. And then okay, like yeah, it's just once in a lifetime
Yeah.
thing. It was actually really stressful because you have to work out more than 2 hours per day, also eating less, and with like just with chicken breast all the time. So
2 hours a
it becomes really
day?
stressful.
Wow.
And then you get really sensitive because you can't eat what you want, and you just have to like
Beauty.
do your abs every day.
After the fact, like after you get your body profile or whatever, it sounds kind of like hard to maintain, this routine and this diet. Like you said, it changes your mood and stuff, right? So do you
Right.
find that most people kind of like drop off and go back to their usual habits after this, or do you think, or most people, do they like retain
I
it?
don't think like people completely maintain it. They try to maintain it some part. For me, after so like working out like that for around 2.5 months gave me kind of like a routine for myself. And then
That's true.
these days I'm just still every day I try to work out and try to eat healthy. And on Instagram you see a lot of people who's also done like body profile, and then afterwards they use like the hashtags UGauto, which means like maintaining dieter. Gives them a healthy habit.
Yeah.
Like in the past, Koreans weren't very interested in exercising, especially in schools. We don't focus a lot in like physical education, so like the PE classes are always kind of pushed off by like math classes or so.
Yeah.
And it's really sad. And then also like the students itself, they're not very unless they're like male students. I think the female students were very interested in exercising, and but then these days it changed. So suddenly people are all like going on running sessions. There are a lot of people going to gyms. Pilates is also popular, and there's just like an exercise workout boom, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, like,
Before it was just all about diet, just like
all about
being
thin.
being skinny and thin. But then I think as we see more people like fit and healthy looking, people want to look like that. Yeah, Korea is one of the countries well known for like plastic surgery, and I actually, in relation to COVID, I heard that there are a lot of population that's getting plastic surgery these days because they all wear masks now, and it's like the same, time to get a surgery, and people wouldn't really notice that much.
I thought it would
Yeah.
be the opposite. I thought that people would be like scared to go into like the hospitals and the clinics and stuff
Oh
because of
no.
COVID. So they would not. No.
No, people care more about their own face and how it should transform, I guess. There are a lot of plastic surgery cases when people are moving on from their high school years to the university. So right before they get into the university, people get a lot of plastic surgery. So even in my high school, when I came for the graduation ceremony, I was really surprised because there were some other girls that had like different faces, and I was like, "Oh my god!"
Is it
Really
something
weird.
that you guys like openly talk about? Because I think that in Western countries recently, I feel like plastic surgery has kind of like increased, especially with like, I don't know, like the lip fillers and like maybe like the
Oh.
boob and the butt thing.
The person who did the plastic surgery will be like, "Oh, you look prettier," and that's it. So we don't go into the details that much.
I
But if they're like close friends or so, we would ask you how much was it, or like how did it hurt or so. But then if it's just some like acquaintance, then we would just like, oh, you became pretty, and then that means literally everyone knows that you had a plastic surgery. But
Yeah.
because like in
Yeah.
America, I feel like back in the day at least, if you did it or whatever, people would feel embarrassed. But then I heard like in Korea, when putting on makeup, right? It's the same thing as like doing a little surgery. It's like the same same thing where it's no big deal.
uh, I guess like it will depend on what kind of plastic surgery. So I think the number one surgery that people do is a double eyelid
Mm,
surgery, because like Koreans are usually
monolid.
to make their eyes bigger and it looks prettier. So that's number one. And usually it's all around the face, usually nose, or I guess also boobs. But I'm like breast surgery, but I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But then like I think it might be a little bit different from Westerners because we don't do a lot of lip fillers. I think some like Instagrammers do lip fillers, but then like fillers I think personally could be really dangerous because it's putting in like something
And do you
completely
feel like it's
different.
a very high population? Like 90% of the people do some kind of plastic surgery, or not really?
90%. I'm not sure. But for double eyelids, I would say a lot of the population would have done it. Because like there are people who look we say 강남미인. That means basically someone who did so much plastic surgery, they all look the same. Gangnam is like south part of the river, and that's where most of the plastic surgeries are located. And Miin is like beauty, beautiful person. But then it literally means it's Gangnam style beautiful person, meaning that person had a lot of plastic surgery. And then there's this like webtoon also like with this like drawing of how people look like when they have certain surgeries, and they all look the same.
I'm just wondering, like, we see that as like a negative thing if it goes too far.
It would
Like,
be
is
the
that a negative
backlash type.
name? That Gangnam Mean thing?
Yeah,
Like,
that's
is that a
definitely
negative?
a negative one.
Oh, okay, okay.
It just means, oh my gosh, she has such an identical face.
You guys want to get to our last segment, dating life? You guys,
Okay.
what is this? Is it called Sogaeting?
You
Those will never
initially
improve.
wrote Sogaeting or something. I was like, oh, that must be Sogaeting.
I read the draft of the word. I was like, spaghetti.
Like in America, we use apps a lot. So how
Yeah.
about Korea? It's more mutual friends, right?
Right. Actually, Sogaeting and meeting used to be the popular formats for meeting someone new. So Sogaeting basically blind date. And so it's usually the format will be a friend of yours introduces another friend, but without that friend joining the conversation, of course. Just like linking random two people together for a blind date. And meeting is like where you just gather like three or 2 to 2, kind of like social gathering for alcohol games. And then but then that's just for fun usually. So there are not many couples that arise from as a result of meeting. It's just for fun. Actually, Sogaeting market is still pretty active, I guess. But meeting, because it's just like meeting up with several random people, and that could heighten the risk of COVID. So meeting is not very popular
Like a
these days.
virtual meeting now.
Virtual meeting. I mean, I guess you could do it. I saw on Instagram like Zoom, Sogaeting or something.
So we had technical difficulties. Sorry about that. But what's cool is right now they are live in Korea. Can you give us like a little 360 so we can see?
360 view.
Yeah.
Okay, let me see. So this is a subway. I'm just one of the subway stations in Korea, and they randomly have a wall with a Korean actress and actors.
And then Carmen, can you show us a 360 the Australian garden?
My dog is here.
Oh, so cute.
And this is a 360 my studio.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So
Please
anyway,
forgive our technical difficulties, and thank you so much, Yonsoo, for coming on the show. It was so nice to talk to you and have an understanding about, you know, the differences, where you lived, how you grew up, things like that. It was very interesting. We're so happy that you could join us.
yeah, thank you so much. You
Yeah,
know,
thank you so much.
a lot of knowledge, and everybody, thanks for joining in. Stay tuned for episode 7 as we speak with a guest who was born and raised in Canada, lived in a Malaysian household, and is currently working in the tech industry in California.